Hello and welcome to this week's Devil with the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson and I'm here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining me in the show this week, as ever, we have Paul Parkin. How's your week been, mate? Obviously, defeat last week in the playoffs for Salford. Long off season now.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I've actually been a bit rough since Friday in terms of I don't know if I picked some up at the game or what, but I was laid up for 2 or 3 days over the weekend, and then as I've come out of that, I think the depression started to set in now. Knowing that I won't be going to any games for another 3-4 months or whatever until the friendlies start. So it's been a tough week overall, and there's a lot going on, but I don't know. I think it's time to start looking forward now and see what comes out of the club over the next few months and get excited for that. But it's been a tough week, a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache, really. But can't complain, can we? We're all still here.
Yeah. Also joins, we've got Paul Whiteside talking about going forward. Paul, heard that the gas prices are going up since yesterday, so you're going to be a busy guy installing all them gas meters.
Might not be as busy. People might not be using it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks, mate. Yeah, just to echo what Parky said, I was a bit down last weekend after the match, particularly after the match, straight after it, when we was doing a few interviews with the players, and that I was talking to Joe Miller, and I had to pause the interview because I completely lost my train of thought. I had to apologise to him, and I've never been like that before, but I think your emotions just get the better of you sometimes, don't you? And that game was a bit of an emotional one. Been a long, hard season, hasn't it? So yeah, and then seeing like the build up to the semi-finals this week, and you're not part of it, I suppose it's one of them, innit? It's going to be 2 good matches this week, and I saw all Warrington playing in Costa Coffee this morning in Warrington. I was chatting to them, and no, it's just a shame we're not involved, but it is what it is, isn't it now?
Yeah, it started me off-season detox / fitness regime. Went to the gym twice this week, Paul. You'd have been proud of me. 45-minute workout, then back home. So never know, by February I might look like a decent second row, hopefully.
I went tonight after work because I finished a bit earlier, so I got there about 4 o'clock. I didn't get in till gone 7. So Ellen went, "Where have you been?" Gym for an hour or something. But I get a bit involved sometimes and lose track of time. But yeah, so I had about 3 hours. But yeah, there we go.
Also, got myself my new glasses as well.
Yeah, cool.
7 years since my last glasses test. I know, Parker. I know that's what face I pulled as well.
Wow.
When they said so.
Have you got them on now?
Got them on now.
Yeah,
Smouldering looks to all our YouTube watchers.
Very nice.
So I'll be hopefully seeing more success in these than I did with my previous ones, Parker.
Yeah, well, to be fair, out of them 7 years that you've had the other ones, the last 5 years haven't been too bad, have they? So it's not been too bad. Hopefully, this hasn't changed the look. That's the thing. But yeah, I'm surprised you went that far. God, I can't go more than a month without having my eyes tested. But obviously, I'm blind as a bat. But yeah, that's a long time. I mean, to be honest with you, my glasses don't last that long. I think after about 12 months, they fall apart or I lose them or something. So you've done well there.
Yeah, a bit flimsy, these new style though. The other ones are quite sort of thick and quite sturdy. Obviously, with kids growing up, when they're like babies, they grab your glasses, don't they? So they got chucked around a bit in the last couple of years. These won't. These are dead thin. These, if any kids grab my glasses now, they're done for. But hopefully, that's all in the past now. None of that glasses throwing to look forward to. But anyway, things to look forward to this week is I'll look back at the league defeat, which probably isn't something to look forward to. But the progress that we've made is we've got all the big news coming out of the club this week, and anything that we decide to talk about in between. So we'll start with the defeat against Leigh. So Salford were beaten by Leigh Leopards in the playoff at the Salford Community Stadium. They were beaten 6 points to 14. Parker out of the playoffs. Disappointed?
Look, massively. I've got to sort of premise this with the fact that at the start of the season, I said on air and to you and Paul that if we finished outside the bottom 3, we'll have done well. To make the playoffs was unbelievable. To finish 4th in the league with the budget and the squad that we've got it's an incredible achievement. It really is. However, Friday night we limped out the playoffs. I thought that wasn't the Salford I've watched most of this year. I'm hugely disappointed with the overall performance. Really, I'm not taking anything away from Leigh. They controlled us really well. They did what they needed defensively. They were superbly, absolutely outstanding. But I thought the one thing everyone knows about Salford is how we attack, and I didn't see it the other night. I didn't see any of it. I think we were very predictable at times, and some of our key players didn't stand up. I'm not going to criticise Paul Rowley quite clearly, but who would I be to do that? But I think we got things wrong. I think tactically, I think this team selection was odd to say the least. I'm not sure why Joe Bullock wasn't selected. I'd put as 18th man. He's probably our biggest, most powerful forward against a really big pack. Would have made sense. Very, very odd. Ryan Briley on the bench. If it was a tactical decision, I'm not sure why you make such a big decision for a playoff game, for the biggest game of the season. Surely you'd have tried it maybe away at Hull, give it a go when you knew you had a chance of winning anyway. If he thinks there's a weakness there in Ryan's game that Leigh were going to exploit and then bring him on later, then as your number one fullback, that's not a great sort of recommendation, is it? To say, look, you're our fullback, but you can't do this, that, or the other. And if he wasn't 100% fit and that's why he was on the bench, then he should have been nowhere near the team. I'd have rather had like I say, I'd rather had Bullock on the bench, but even a Chris Atkin who can play multiple positions or someone like that, if that was the issue. So I found a couple of decisions strange, but I was mostly just disappointed with the lack of fluency in attack. I thought in the first half, we kept going to that left-hand side of Leigh and getting no joy, rather than getting it wide out to McDonald on that right side where he's devastating. He had to keep coming in and looking for the ball. And again, it seemed like we'd spotted something in video or whatever. We thought, we'll attack this left side. Once it wasn't working, we didn't seem to have another plan. And I was very disappointed with that. I thought defensively we were superb for most of the game. I really do. I thought, because Leigh's forwards, I mean, Rob Mulhern has turned into Gordon Tallis this year. He's been absolutely tremendous. Pape, who I said all year, I think is the best hooker in the league, and he was just brilliant again. A few of the other more tried and trusted forwards they were on form, and we stopped them for most of the game. 2 or 3 men in a tackle, stopping them dead, but we just lacked something. We had plenty of chances in that first half, and going in at 2-0, I was disappointed. I thought we should have had at least a try on the board, maybe 2. And at that point, it would have been comfortable. Leigh were always going to have a phase in that game, and they did. They had a sort of good 20-minute blast at us, and that killed us. So disappointed because it wasn't the Salford that I'd come accustomed to, but still extremely proud and extremely, happy with the boys for what they've achieved this year.
Thoughts on that, Paul? Like you say, this is why Paul Rowley's the head coach. He makes the big decisions. What did you think about Bullock, no-show, and Ryan Briley on the bench?
I'd have had Bullock in before Dudson, to be honest with you. But a coach, I think Bullock's a better player, but he went with that. I thought the Briley thing, to me, was a fitness thing. I thought he wasn't fully fit, and that's why Hankinson played. But I never knock Hankinson anyway, because for me, I'm in Hankinson's corner.
Yeah,
I like Hankinson. I rate him as a fullback, and I'm not saying he's a better player than Briley, but I think he's a better fit at times in that position. He's a stronger runner with the ball, and he's more. It's hard to say. I think he's more durable than Briley. I'm not saying he's tougher, but he just seems to ride tackles a bit more than what Briley does. And he was steady, and he proved that decision to be right because he got man of the match. And I thought he was our best player, Hankinson. So I couldn't fault it. But having Briley on the bench, to me, didn't really do us any good because he took the place of another forward, really. It was a waste of time. I'd have had Atkin on the bench because at least he's someone there to do something and play in a different positions. And if you play Atkin, he gives Joe Miller a bit of a lift. No, Joe Miller's 34-year-old and he's playing 80 minutes every week. I'm not knocking him because he works his socks off, but sometimes he can do with a bit of a lift there because he was tiring in that second half. The lad were knackered, and he's on his own there. So yeah, I didn't get that one, to be honest with you. But just going back to the match, I thought Leigh was the better side in that second half. I really did. I thought in the first half, like Pag said, I thought our defence was tremendous. There was times in that first half where you could hear the crowd behind us. We were pushing Leigh back. There was one where we forced a drop out. Fantastic defence, it really was. And we matched them. We went toe to toe with them in the forwards, and you couldn't knock them at all. But we were let down by the attack again. I didn't think the Nicarima and Sneed partnership really worked. Nicarima, I'm not saying he was poor, but he didn't really show much in that game. He didn't take the line on. When he takes the line, he's direct. He's unplayable. But for me, he was sort of the shadow of what he's been, really. And I don't know. There was something not right with our attack. It was poor with them. We only scored that try when they were down to 12 men. And I thought we clocked off a bit as well when Josh Charnley got injured. I mean, he was down for a good long while there. And straight from that play there, they scored. And that affected us. I think the massive play for me was the Matt Donald one that got brought back for a knock on. That changed the game. That was a game changer. And whether it was the right decision or the wrong decision, it was a bit of a 50-50 call. I've watched it back and probably is a knock on, but it's one of them, isn't it? I think the first try they got could have been crossing, but no, it was a tough night. But I think in that second half, you look at Apapa, he's probably the difference between the two teams.
Yeah,
he's a quality player. He's probably the best hooker in the league, and he just stepped up there, and he has the ability to be able to play hooker and loose forward. He can play between the two. So when they bring that Brad Dwyer on as well, that was just the boost they needed, and we didn't have that. That's somebody coming off the bench to make the impact. So no complaints. I thought they were the better side.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you say, it's a learning experience in it. I think we found out what playoff football was in that first half. Both teams went at it, and second half, I just think we just sort of lacked a bit of control. Leigh took that momentum and took it away from us in the second half. Like you said, sort of no arguments really. The Ryan Briley gamble didn't pay off. I think Paul Rowley thought he has this bit of magic in him when it matters sometimes, and I think he thought, well, if the game's going away, I'll just throw him on and see what happens, which is what happened. But unfortunately, the momentum wasn't with us at that point, so Leigh just continued on their merry way, didn't they? But it was disappointing, but it's not the end of the world because, like Parker said, we weren't expecting to be in the top four of this Super League. People were talking about not making the playoffs full stop. So to make the playoffs is a fantastic, achievement. We should be celebrating that. I know I spoke to someone on the ground on Friday with all of everyone's outside milling about, and he said, this is a great occasion, this. And I was like, this should be every week, not just once in a like blue moon moment. And this is a step towards that. And hopefully, Parker, we've suffered defeat. We've learned a lot, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, very much so. I think I just want to say what Paul said there as well about Leigh with a better team overall. We were beaten by a better team on the night, and that's the way the game should be. The referee didn't change results or anything like that. There was a couple of calls, but other than that, that's going to happen in a big game, and so it's the best way to walk away from game, shake hands, and say, "Well done, you were the better team," and off we go. I wonder how much we were affected by the crowd. Our players, we don't play in front of big crowds every week. Our players aren't used to that, and every time we have played in front of big crowds this year, generally we've lost. You go up to Hull KR, you go to Wigan or where at Leeds and places like that. Saints, I know we won one, but we also lost one, and the Magic Weekend and places like that. I don't know. Maybe there's something in that. When we've got a smaller crowd, maybe it's easier for our players to sort of say, we can just relax. It's okay. The pressure's not on us as such. And then when 10,000 people turn out, wherever it is, does it affect? I don't know. I'm just, I'm looking at all angles that maybe certain players, like, Paul mentioned Nicarima, who I didn't notice in the game at all. Was he overawed by it? Is it, was it a big occasion and he just didn't take it in right? Someone like Sneed, it wouldn't be water off a duck's back. Callum Watkins, people like that who've been there and done it. But there's players there who maybe for the first time have been under that pressure, maybe not played in front of them crowds. I mean, even Leigh generally get 7,000-8,000 every week. They're used to a little bit more than we are. And when they get, Saints and Wigan and Warrington, whatever, they fill the ground. We just don't do that. This is a one-off. Let's not forget, this is the biggest crowd we've had in 20, 30, I don't know, you know what I mean? Yes, boss, probably since the last game at the Willows or whatever. So it's a generation of it. It's a tough one. But yeah, look, I think the main thing was that I thought the whole occasion passed off really well as well with the stadium. I was worried before the game, I'll be honest, because I've been there this season with 3,000 and struggled to get a cup of coffee on time to watch the kickoff. The service has been slow, or just random stuff happening. I thought there'd be complaints over people sitting in the wrong seats, too many tickets issued in one area or whatever. I think it went like a dream. I really did. I thought the stadium handled it really well. Shame it was about -4, but you can imagine that kind of crowd on a nice summer's afternoon in the middle of the season. You would come back. My fear is how many of them faces that were there on Friday night will be back first game next season. That we've had that before. So if we get a big crowd, we get beat, they don't come back. It's what happens on the pitch that affects what happens off the pitch most of the time, and you can't control that sometimes. That's a bit of an issue. But no, I thought the club handled it really well. The stadium did well, and getting off the car park was a nightmare. But I'd rather that, because that says there's a lot of people here. But if it takes you half an hour to get off when there's 3,000 in there, you've got a problem. If it takes you that when there's 10,000 people there, well, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, overall, I mean, the game was disappointing for us, but I think the whole occasion was a brilliant event for Salford, and it shows what can be done. People get behind the club. I think there was a lot of people who turned out the other day that I saw faces there who I know aren't rugby fans who went because of the occasion, but also because of a bit of gratitude for what the team have achieved. We've been underdogs all year, and people sometimes like that. I mean, you always want to be number one, of course you do, and everyone follows number ones. That's why Salford have struggled so far for so long with crowds, because United have been successful, or City. You follow success. This year, I think a lot of fans have jumped on board because, yeah, go on then. We'll show them. We'll put it up them. And just a shame it didn't go our way. I mean, can you imagine travelling to Wigan this weekend? Once again, like we did in 2019, there'd be 4,000 or 5,000 people turning up. It'd have been brilliant. But look, yeah, I think the club needs to be patted on the back for what they've done, both on and off the pitch all season. And it's just a shame it came to an end that way.
Yeah, we've got to echo what Parky said there. From what I experienced, it was well organised. 2 bay buses, food, things for kids. We want the game day experience to be a good one for potential fans, and I thought the club did that. Paul, we've had a run, haven't we? We've had kind of like different days: Blue Light Day, Police Day. For them to see what works and what doesn't work. So when the big game comes along and you get a big crowd, we're able to put it all together, which is something which, looking forward for more big crowds to come, excites you.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Friday nights is tricky because I never got to see the beer bus or that because we work and I'm always on the last minute, and it is Friday nights are tough, I must admit. And by the time I get home, my Saturdays are hard work because I'm shattered. So I'd rather it be a weekend game. But no, I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the games this season. They just took it out of me because you do like a 12-hour day and then you rush straight to Salford and that. And I managed to I was panicking all day Friday. I really was. I was all over the show. I was over in Runcorn. And I knew I need to get back. I was in Denton my last couple of jobs, and I managed to get there. I picked up my truck, got there okay. So, but I enjoyed it. And one thing I thought was, it was built up all week. There was excitement built up, and it was everyone like talking about the ticket. I think the ticket thing built up excitement. I think that happens sometimes, doesn't it? If you say, "Oh, there's not many tickets left and all this," everybody wants one, then don't they? And perhaps that's the way it went with a match. So perhaps next season we should start saying that there's not many tickets left and all that. And just generate that excitement, because the whole week building up to the game, Imogen kept saying to me, she said, "Oh, Dad, are we going to be all right? Are we going to get in? Is someone going to be sitting there?" I said, "No, we've got tickets. It'll be fine." And it was great, to go to a game like that. And whereas normally there's only 3,000 of us there, and you just see your normal people and that. And there was people sat in front of me who obviously weren't so regulars, who didn't really know some of the rules and asking me what was going on. I think they were Sale Shark supporters, but really nice people, and they were cheering Salford on. And I thought, this is great. They've come to give us a cheer and get behind the club. And I'd have a bit more of that. Let's see if we can do sort of offers with Sale and other clubs and other sports clubs. Let's get that excitement. Let's generate that excitement. And you can't do it on just word of mouth. You've got to get out there and you've got to speculate to accumulate, haven't you, and put money out there. And that, I think that's what other clubs are doing. And I think Leigh for one, deserve a lot of credit. I mean, they got laughed at, didn't they? I mean, I'm not a big fan of their owner, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I think sometimes he comes across a bit of a wally. But you can't sort of knock what he's done with Leigh Leopards with the branding. You know, you get to Leigh. Now, I work in Leigh a lot. Everyone's got the shirts on. They've got these banners and things everywhere, and the crowds have gone through the roof. So they're doing really well, and I can't see him beating Wigan this week. I think it'll be a tough game for him, but if they do, they take a massive crowd to Old Trafford. So good luck to them. You know, we had some great games against them sort of 20 years ago, didn't we, in the National League and that. And, you know, they've done, they're like us, they've been a club that have been out of the limelight for a long time. So it's good to see them doing well. But I think we should look at them as an example and, you know, sort of follow their lead really and generate this. And hopefully people start coming back watching us.
Yeah, unfortunately though, Parker, there was unsavoury scenes in the South Stand and also people invading the pitch at the end. It's difficult really. So who can you blame for that? I mean, are we to blame? As in fans, our own fans?
Yeah.
But then I think of that. But then I think other fans have similar issues when they go on big days out, like Warrington in France. Hull and Hull KR have had issues. Castleford also. So is it a stewarding problem? I mean, they're protecting the Sky crew, which is fair enough because they're on telly, and they're stood facing a load of adults. But when the kid makes a break, no one chases them down. So is that an issue? Or is it society that, you know, this talking about, you know, rugby league being the people's game, and is that a sort of a side effect of where society is at the moment that, you know, it boils over from time to time, or is it a side effect of us sort of going into schools, going to colleges, trying to get these kids to become soap supporters, you know, for their life, and you'll pick up 10 good kids, then you might end up picking up one wrong and on the way. Or it's just a lone wolf thing where you can't plan for that, but you've got 30 lone wolves that aren't together, just decided off the top of their own head, I'm going to go and run on the pitch.
Right. Well, on the fighting thing, I mean, that was a couple of people being idiots. You can't. That's society. That's people who've had a drink, who probably don't normally go to the game, who've stood in someone else's spot, or have been swearing their heads off, and someone said, "Can you stop that?" And they've turned around and given them back, which could happen anywhere, no matter where you are. If you're at a gig, I don't know if you've ever been to a gig recently. It's full of empty heads, absolutely throwing pots of wee at you and stuff. You know, that's the society problem. The running on the pitch thing, it happened on the last game of the season. Now, obviously, when we were at the Willows and we were all kids, that was a regular thing. You went on, they got the tie-ups, you saw the players, they came off. That's not happened for 20, 30 years, okay? So where have these kids got this idea to run on the pitch from? Because it doesn't happen in sport anymore. You can't do it. So somebody is encouraging these kids to do this. So it's obviously either a parent or an older person saying, go on the pitch. So it comes from senior people. Do you know what I mean? You can't stop that kind of thing in terms, unless you put a steward like literally, you know, an inch apart from each other right across, which costs a fortune to try and stop people. There'll always be somebody trying to do something daft. So I don't know where that's come from. It's a tough one, and they are mostly kids. The problem is when you see adults doing it, and you're like, "What are you doing? Why are you on the pitch? What are you doing on there? What purpose are you serving? Why do you think that's a sensible thing to be doing?" I get kids, they get excited, they want to see the players, right? If that encourages them to come again next season, well, there you go. As long as the club don't get fined, right? It's something that's got to stop, but it's happened. It's the adults that are going on that are the problem. Then trying to goad the away fans, then trying to, you know, just don't be a moron. There's no call for it. Be an adult. Stay in your place. Clap the team off. The team couldn't come back out on Friday night to say thank you to the fans at the end of the season. We couldn't say thank you to them. Some of them came out and walked around the edge, but they should have been on the pitch in front of everybody, taking the applause of the fans, you know, and the gratitude that we show. But because of one or two idiots, it couldn't happen. I'm not sure. I don't know what power stewards have, to be honest with you. I don't know if they can touch it anyway. I don't know what they can do to drag it off. And certainly with kids, I don't understand, you know, what the rules would be. But they tend to be a bit useless. Like, but they do tend to be a bit useless at that kind of thing. But yeah, overall, I know I'm waffling here, but I think it's a society problem more than anything. I don't think you can stop it. You can't stop what one person or two people are going to do. Someone's going to hit someone. If someone's going to start a fight, if someone's going to, that's sadly the way it is. I hope for them people get rooted out and not they don't come back. One thing I will say, by the way, is the only disappointment for me of the whole week, well, besides the game itself, was when I went to get my tickets on the Monday. Picked up 6 tickets, despite there was another issue with that. But nobody took any information off me. No database collection, nothing. Now, that's 10,000, 11,000 people that we've had captive to take down their information, to bombard them from now on with emails or whatever, to get them to know that we're playing. Whether they come or not, don't know. Make them an offer. You came to this game, the playoff game. Thank you for that. Here's an offer for the next one. Nobody asked anything. That's not good enough. That isn't good enough. The club have never been good enough at that. And they've missed out on a massive opportunity once again, like they did in the grand final, when we sold 14, 15,000 tickets and nobody was collecting information off anyone to get them back. That's my big thing. And it also works in the way that you've no idea who you're letting in your ground. How do you know that some of these people haven't been banned from places, from sports grounds, who are idiots? We don't know. Nobody's doing that. So that's my disappointment with it. But like I say, I don't want to have a dig at them too much. I thought the event was great, but you can't stop one or two idiots.
Yeah. Thoughts on that, Paul?
I'll culminate a lot of it. I go to a lot of boxing events and stuff like that, and you get a few pints down someone, and the other stuff that they tend to snort as well. It's a lethal cocktail, and everyone thinks it's 10 men these days. It's a society thing. Everybody does, and I think it's the same at rugby. There was an idiot in the West Stand, the Leigh supporter. I mean, he didn't bother me. He jumped up when Leigh scored, and he was a big bloke as well. He looked like a bit of a hooligan, but I don't know. And he was shouting to somebody else, and they were shouting at him. It wouldn't bother me. Leigh have scored. Great, congratulations to them. But other people see it. They don't like, he's cheering for Leigh, and then that kicked off, and there was a bit of either there. So I don't know. The fighting, like Park said, you can't stop people. People have got to be responsible for their own actions. You can't blame the club. You can't blame the stewards, the people. If you want to do something, it's like, I don't know. You could do what you want. You could go on and chin a player, couldn't you?
Mm.
You can't stop it. You could have a weapon on you or anything. You've got to be responsible. And the thing is, with this country, people get away with it. It's like, I don't want to go into too much stuff, but you see stuff on the news now, and it's like, well, he's done this, yeah, but just think about it. He might have issues. He might have this. He might have mental problems, all that. But he's done wrong. He's done something wrong, or she's done something wrong. Well, that's society now. There's always an excuse for something. So I don't know. I didn't think it was too bad. But the kids and that, I don't know. It's just been like a bit of a new thing because, like Pag said, we used to do that years ago, didn't we? But I mean, I thought it was an offence now to go on the pitch, because certainly at football, isn't it? They have signs behind the thing, but I don't mind that. If kids are excited and they want to see the players, it's just these drunk wallies that go on in it, and they're trying to kick off with it. I heard there was a bit of Miver outside the ground, but you'll always get that. There'll probably be bits of Miver at the playoff games this weekend when we've gone to Hull Car, and it's not just Salford, it's all clubs. All clubs will have wallies watching him who've had beer and that, won't they? So, and I think when you've got more people there, the tensions are higher, the stakes are higher, and things go off. So I didn't read a lot into it. I thought that the night went pretty well, to be honest. No one was sat in my seat and what have you. But like Parker said, I think that's the disappointing thing, that nobody's sort of took your information, because you need a database, don't you, to get all the people on that. And I'm always getting emails off stuff, whether it be Costa Coffee or Greg's or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, when you're getting bombarded by emails, you do think, yeah, go on, I'll nip there and get a brew, or yeah, I'll go and do that, because it's just in your head, innit, to do it. Nectar Points, that's another one. I'm always getting emails off them, and you think, well, yeah, go on, I'll go in Sainsbury's and get me diesel because I'll get them points. So it's worthwhile, isn't it, doing it? But if they've missed the trick there and not took the information, then it's poor, isn't it, really?
It is in a way. On the flip side of that, I was in, I think it's WO3, which was like a block and a bit away from the Leigh fans. And there was like a mixed zone in WO2. Not a peep of trouble down there. Both set of fans watching the match, cheering when Salford scored, cheering when Leigh scored.
There never used to be, Rob. I mean, people think now. I mean, a lot of people seem to think, oh, it's always been segregated rugby league. When I first started going with Dad, you never got segregated. The only place you ever got segregated was Hull. You couldn't go in that threatening stand at Hull, at the Boulevard. Everywhere else, you were stood. I can remember going to Thrum Hall and places like that, especially the Yorkshire grounds. And you used to have a great. But my dad used to have a row with someone, and at the end of the game, we'd be shaking hands and we'd be walking out the ground with the guy he'd been arguing with, saying, see you next time. And I used to love it because the camaraderie you'd have with the away supporters was great. You'd have banter with him, you have a bit of a row. And that's how it used to be. And that's how rugby league should be. We don't want it like football, but it has gone like that now because you do get to see you got Huddersfield, Wigan, you are segregated. But for me, why? You should be able to get on with people. I think that's great. You can speak to people, and rugby league should be that sort of game.
Yeah. So let's just quick look back at the match. Salford went 2-0 up the penalty from Mark Sneed. Half time, Salford led 2-0. Leigh built the pressure. Second half, Josh Charnley scored their first try. Possible obstruction on Denny McDonald. Parker. For me, I think he played for it though and didn't get it.
I'll be honest, I've not watched the game back, so I'm only going off what I can kind of remember when I was getting the ice off me eyes. He did at the time seem like an obstruction, but like you say, it's hard, isn't it? The rule's a bit vague on that as well. It can be very confusing. From what I remember people around me shouting obstruction. I thought, I'm not. I think we've just read it wrong. I don't think we've covered the play well enough. But yeah, it was disappointing. What I will say though, from that first half when we went 2-0 up, Leigh had a chance earlier on at taking the two and didn't, and kept having a go. It was a bit like the Catalan game the other week, and I thought after sort of 10 minutes, well, we've done these. They've had a look at us and gone, we're not getting through here. And I thought the game was going to turn on that, and then we took that two, and I think it was a good two in a way, but I think at the same point, I think we could have put our foot on them a little bit. I think they gassed a little bit at that point, and when they took the two, and then you're back in your own half, you got to fight your way back out. Our forwards weren't big enough. I think it stopped our momentum a little bit, and I don't think we ever really got it back. But that first 10 minutes, I thought I was a little bit nervous. I thought if they go over here because we were shooting out the line, we had the wingers coming in again, leaving big gaps behind. And I thought Lamb's such a clever player. He put a little kick in. Charnley or whoever else would go around, and they didn't read it that way. And then I thought, do you know what, we've done them here? They'll break, and then it just didn't. So full credit to them. But yeah, as for the try, I'd be disappointed if it was us and it'd been disallowed. So I can't say definite obstruction. There was something in the build-up, but I don't think it was that.
Yeah, I think, Paul, that you should have looked at it. I think he just wanted to try straight away. It was a bit like it's worth looking at that. Even though, in my opinion, McDonald plays for it, he runs into him, knowing that if he does go to the screen, it will look like he blocked him. But the ball had gone. So, playoff rugby, pressure does weird things to people.
If he'd have gone to the video ref, what do you think he'd have given on field on try or no try?
I think he'd give a try.
There's no point
because I think with McDonald, because obviously we only see it once from the main camera, don't we? And I think McDonald sort of knows what's going on and thinks the only way I'm going to stop this is running into the guy. They do it, don't they, sometimes, where they kind of force the obstruction when there isn't really one. But it was what it was. And was disappointed. But then, Gaz O'Brien with a try. Lovely break from Mbappe. Unfortunately, slipped by Partington. And that's what playoff rugby is. Parker, one mistake, and they go and finish it off.
Yeah, it took for me the best player on the pitch to do that. Like say Partington, I think I didn't realise it was him, but if he slipped, I saw somebody slip when he went through, and I thought straight away you're in danger here. But again with Leigh, nobody was standing on ceremony. Every time Leigh went forward, by the way, there was 2 or 3 men in support of the ball player or the guy with the ball. We were doing it in singles, one man. He gave it the prop, and everyone else stood still and watched it. There was nobody back. If he'd had turned to offload it, there'd have been nobody there. There was a lot of times that happened. Whereas Leigh, every single time, 2 or 3 bodies in motion. And again, once he's broke the line, they're all there supporting either side. He could have gone either way. And if it was Ollie, I feel for him because he's been outstanding this year. Absolutely outstanding. Be a huge loss for next season. and I'm sure he's probably kicking himself at that. But you can't, like you say, playoff football. You get one chance. You're not going to get that chance back. But he's I mean, Pape he's so big and strong, and for a hooker, I don't think I've seen anyone hit as hard as him either. But he made a great break, and again, like I say, the support was there. I think there was 2 or 3 players backing up that could have, probably scored in the end anyway. But they just outnumbered us once we broke the line.
Yeah, I don't think we can dig out Oliver Partington. He made 44 tackles, and he regularly makes sort of 50 plus.
Yeah.
So it's just like you say, Paul. It's one mistake, and then the ball from Mbappe was unbelievable. Did Dion cross with a flight of it, and Gaz O'Brien sails under the posts and got that sinking feeling then.
Yeah, I was saying about that. Papi, he's a good player, isn't he? And you've got that John Asiata with him as well, and he's got a lovely pair of hands. You talk about Lamb, but to me, Asiata is the architect in that team. Lamb's a good finisher, but Asiata's everything comes off him. Everything comes off him. He's so clever in attack and defence, and when he's got that Papi working with him as well, they've got a lot of attacking options there. And I know Bucky's have given him a 10-point start at Wigan this week, and they might cause Wigan some problems because they're a tough team to play against. I don't know how Josh Chandler's gone on because he got a really bad injury. I mean, I've watched that on the bloody replay, and it's awful the way he goes over on his neck, like. But no, just going back to Partington, tremendous player. I thought he worked his socks off. He does every week. He's such a cracking defender, and the amount of effort and work that he puts in. Going back to the McDonald try, McDonald. I thought it was a misread, that, really. Do you know what? It's a 50-50, that. When you see them sort of obstruction things every week, you could say it's an obstruction, but when's an obstruction become a defensive misread or a dummy run, going for the dummy runner? So they're really 50-50s. And if you go to the video referee's only going to go with what the referee on fields give anyway, because they never overturn him, really. So yeah, but no, Asiata, only getting a good player. Well, I don't know why it's pro. Because they've not signed anybody else, have they, really, of any note? But he's a good player.
Yeah, so Mbappe scores his solo try, great try from him. And then we get our only try of the game. Ethan Ryan, kicked by Mark Sneed. Logan Lewis near goes over, gets sort of dumped by the post. Quick recycle the ball. Sneed kicks to the corner. Ethan Ryan's there to touch down Parker. And unfortunately, time runs out on first Salford.
Yeah, I think Paul pointed out before they'd gone out of 12 men at that point, hadn't they? They committed about 7 penalties on the bounce there, Leigh. I think at one point it was like 10-3, the penalty count, and then it virtually evened up within a space of about 2 minutes. And he had to do something at the referee. He hadn't done much most of the game about some of their. I'll say they did lie on. They really knew how to slow the play the ball down, stopping Joey Mellor getting a bit of a kickstart. They knew that was obviously going to be a danger. And there was a lot of that. It got a bit frustrating, actually, at parts where the lying on, because it was just, there was no way we could gain any momentum. We needed that because our forwards weren't going to bully theirs. So we needed to be on the front foot straight away, and we just couldn't. And that annoyed me through the game. But, I pointed out last week about Jack Smith. We've now had him 4 times this year and lost every game. Just saying. But that last try, they'd gone down to 12. They won the game by that point. I mean, even if Sneedy had nailed that kick from the touchline, there was about a minute and a half left. I know we've done it previously. I know it's possible, but it took us 70-odd minutes to score 1 try. I wasn't sure we were going to score another one. We did. Until that moment, I didn't think we looked like scoring at all. I think Leigh's defence was just too good for us. And it just wasn't our night. Simple as that. We didn't do enough to win the game. We didn't get the bounce of the ball we needed. I thought Matt Moylan was brilliant for Leonor. I thought he was tremendous. He caused real problems all night long. And like Paul said, they will cause Leigh issues, Wigan issues this week. In the same way they have us. I just think Wigan have got that much more, in the tank. And if we had a won this week, it'd been great to go there for the semi-final, for the atmosphere and everything. But I'll be honest, I don't think it'd have been like 2019. I don't think we'd got quite the same outcome this year. I know you can never say, but I think we're gonna. I said at the start of the year, I thought we're gonna win everything. They're not far off doing so. So they're a bit too good. But who knows? Leigh have earned the way. Don't forget they were at one point. I think they were 13 points behind us in the league They managed to finish in the playoffs, and now they're in the semi-final. You can't have anything but praise. I agree with what Paul said. By the way, I don't like their owner. I think he's an idiot. And some of the things he comes out with are just publicity stunts that he doesn't need to do. Doesn't really reflect well on Leigh, who've been had a cracking time this year, been a great club for the last couple of years, and he's put his money in. But let us not forget he did that previously and walked away when he wasn't getting his own way. So I'm not sure he's of his integrity, but yeah. Other than that, I wish them well. They deserve the win against us, and see where they can go.
Yeah, looking at the stats, Paul, completion rate, Salford's 96, Leigh 96, wow. Meters made 888 for us, 1,062 for them, 32 sets of 6 each. Post contact meters for Salford 495, 485 for Leigh. Errors 11 for us, 12 for them. Missed tackles 37 for us, 37 for them. Play the balls in within the 20-meter zone, 41 for us and 26 for them. And tackle burst 37 each. So quite close, really, when it comes to stats.
Well, the completion rate is the big one, really. I thought that on the night there wasn't many mistakes. We went set for set with him, particularly in that first. I think I said on my thing, it was a bit like, it reminded me a bit of an Australian game, the way we both went at each other. And the first half was really exciting. And, people in the modern day rugby league now seem to think, it's rubbish the game if there's not loads of tries. And I thought it was a cracking match. I don't think you need tries to make the game good. It was end-to-end stuff. It was dead entertaining. The defences were good. And I thoroughly enjoyed that first half. And in the second half, I thought we started all right, but Leigh just seemed to pull away from us. That decision with MacDonald, it just seemed to get away from us, the game. And they upped the ante and we couldn't go with them. And that's just that. But no, the stats tell the story of the game. It was a good game, really good game. It was a good playoff game, played at good intensity by two good sides. And no complaints. I enjoyed it, and Leigh, I was very disappointed, but Leigh won it because they deserved to win it.
Yeah, looking at the personal stats, Parky, top tacklers: Brad Singleton 33, Sam Stone 30, Callum Watkins 47, Oliver Partington 44, Joe Mellor 39.
Yes, Joe Mellor has got through a load of work, hasn't he? Considering the stuff he did with the ball in hand as well. But other than that, it's usual suspects there in those tackle stats. Certainly Watkins and Partington being in there again, putting a lot in. But there was, like you say, because there wasn't many errors, you had to do your full set of 6 every time, and then it was a kick at the end. Just going back to the actual stats you read out, listening to them, you think we won the game, except for the actual meters. The post-contact meters, I don't know how they made 200 meters more in a game, but less contact meter. I didn't get that because I thought every time they hit us, they were taking us back. When they had the ball, I thought their forwards were bullying us. But Mulhern, like I said before, seemed to make 10, 15 meters every time he got the ball. So bit of a strange one that. But yeah, reading them stats, I thought we'd have won the game, but we didn't. And I don't know. I suppose they tell lies, don't they? Sometimes these stats. But going back to the defense. I dare say each individual didn't do too many missed tackles, which is important, as well as the tackles they put in, because it was a tight contest, and I thought both defences were outstanding.
Yeah, top meter makers. Paul, Nenny McDonald 100, Tim Laffey 96, Oliver Partington 61, Chris Hankinson 134, Joe Mellor 113, Dion Cross 77.
That's why McDonald's in that dream team. Because every week he makes tons of meters, doesn't he? He's so difficult to stop. He's such a dangerous player. Chris Hankinson as well, I think he's probably the most underrated player at the club. Every time he's played this season, I can't think of having a poor game. I think he's always an 8 out of 10. I think he's really valuable to the side, and whether he plays... he got shifted in that game to the back row when Sam Stone went off, and he puts a shift in there, and yeah, I think he's been really valuable this season. He's probably someone that was signing. He probably looked at him and thought, yeah, he's been around. He's a bit of a journeyman. He's been all over the place, but been a valuable member of the squad. So, some good meters there by the usual suspects, particularly MacDonald.
Yeah, average gains, McDonald's 8 metres, Tim Laffey 7, Dion Cross 7, Sam Stone 8, Chris Hankinson 8, Joe Mellor 7, Parker.
Yeah, going back to the meters, by the way, the disappointing thing is that most of them were backs. So you do get a little bit more space out wide or whatever. I don't think we used McDonald half as well as we should have done the other night. But that's another matter. But not so much from the forwards in meters. And I know it was tight, but that's where we need these bigger guys that just break them. Leigh had a couple of them. We didn't, and that's. I think at the end of the day, I think that's what's cost us. The fact that our forwards couldn't make meters. I know our attack was a little bit flat, but sometimes we're working from impossible positions. So, it doesn't surprise me that you see McDonald up there and Laffey up there. That's what they do. Hankinson and Cross when they kick the ball, you've got 20 meters to run in anyway. So they skew the stats a little bit. But yeah, I'd like to see a few more of the forwards in there, but not to be.
Yeah, big thanks for your 3-word man of the matches. Colin Wilson, not to be. His man of the match was the team. Chairman Bob, not our night. Chris Hankinson. Natalie Taylor, still very proud. Cross. Andy Lancashire, great full house. Denny McDonald. Matt, what a season. Hankinson. OSF, lacking in attack. The crowd. Mark, fought hard effort. I said not enough gas. Hankinson. Chris Slowen, step too far in McDonald. Michael Redford could do better. And Jeff Whitlow, great effort again. All the team, all. So, listeners, disappointed but proud of their efforts.
Yeah, you can't. Not that you had a surrender season. We finished fourth and got in the playoffs. I mean, it's a great season. You look at some of the sides that have finished below us, and they spent an awful lot of money, and these big cheeses, the likes of Leeds and Huddersfield, and they've done nowhere near what we've done. So I didn't get the playoffs this season. I must admit, every season I go in with low expectations. Just want us to do well, put the effort in, and wherever we end up, we end up. But I've been entertained by it. We had some great wins. Had some great wins on the road. Won at St Helens and what have you. It's been great. It's been great following them, and I've fully enjoyed it. And to get within sort of a game of the grand final, it's you can't ask for more than that, really, can you? Can't ask for more than what they give. So if we can go again next year, if we can get in the playoffs every year and be this side that's up there all the time, you're making progress, aren't you? We dreamt about being in the playoffs. You go back a few years, we've only been in it once, and we got lamped off Bradford, didn't we? But now we're sort of getting there. I mean, last season we were close to getting there, weren't we? So we're improving. The club is making progress.
Yeah, amen to that, Paul. So we'll see what's happening in the world of Salford Devils. So we'll start with some sad news. Former Salford player John Cheshire has passed away. Paul, 255 appearances, 43 tries, 141 goals. Our thoughts are with his friends and family at this time.
Yeah, he played in the 50s, didn't he, till the early 60s, I think, and a good player in a time when I don't think we were the best side in the world. We at that time, Swinton were a decent team back then, weren't the early 60s, and we were sort of playing second fiddle, weren't we? So I think he was a star in that side, wasn't he, at the time? And yeah, I thought he was one of our oldest surviving players, wasn't until he passed away. So yeah, I believe he's a Welshman as well, wasn't he, John Cheshire?
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very sad news, and a very good player for Salford.
Yeah, a Welsh international, Parker, travelled to Toulouse in the unofficial test of 1959, scored a try while he was over there, and he was Salford's top point scorer in 1959 and 1960 to 61.
Yeah, I think he like Paul said there, I think he probably played in a difficult period for the club. I think it was around that time that we were probably one of the worst in the game, strangely, for a while. Us and Doncaster and a few others. But we had some stars. I remember my dad mentioning John Cheshire in the past. Players like that who he watched, when he was in his, he'd have been in his 20s, I would have thought at that point, watching him. And it's a shame that, players like that who basically kept the club going through them tough times until later in the 60s when, obviously everything changed and turned around for us. So proper servants, and yeah, just another sad loss to the club.
Yeah, other news, Parker. Danny Barton has been awarded a level 4 RFL coaching program, and Adam Sidlow has been awarded level 3. Obviously, training the reserves and the development academy this season. So congratulations on both, for both. Obviously, two great coaches going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, Danny's got his connection with Salford's been there for God knows how long. I remember him playing in the academy years ago, and he's come through, from that period, and he's worked his way up into the club, and he does an unbelievable job in development side. So yeah, congratulations to him for all the hard work, and who knows, where his career will go, whether he wants to stay doing that or whatever in the future. But yeah, that's really good. And then Adam Sidlow, I'm glad because I want to see ex-players involved. I like to see a few more maybe going to refereeing because they clearly understand the game more than the referees do. But, because they play it, they understand what players do and don't do. Sometimes you see a ball come reefed out of someone's hand and you're going, well, the player's not done that clearly, but the referee will give. So I think players have a better understanding. I'd love to see more of them go into refereeing, but certainly into coaching. They've got a lot to offer. I mean, someone like Adam Sidlow, who's been in the game for, 20 years or whatever as a pro, he'll have picked up so many tips, played under some really good managers, played with really good players. It's things that you can pass on to the younger players, and who knows, in a few years' time, he might be a head coach somewhere. They've all got to start somewhere. So, yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of studying to do these coaching courses. And they're not cheap either. So to actually take that, undertake that, and he could easily sit back and think, right, well, I'll look for something else now or whatever. But he obviously wants to stay in the game. And who knows whether he's going to have a role at our gaff in the future. We just don't know what's going to happen to him.
Yeah, obviously, Paul, we are the opportunity club. So opportunities come along, like these two, expanding their coaching knowledge. We have to admit we are kind of blind to what level 4, level 3 are. If you're looking to sort of coach in the Super League or whatever. But that's maybe something we'll find out off Harry, however.
Yeah, I think, you can have the badges and that, but I think you can't buy the experience, can you? You look at the experience, you can have bits of stuff on paper, can't you, and all that, but you look at the experience that Danny Barton's got and Sidlow. But Danny Barton, first off, like Parker said, how long's he been involved with the club for? He works tirelessly. He's a really nice lad as well, and he's become part of the furniture at Salford, and I'm really pleased for him. And you can see him progressing, and especially with the club now, with an academy coming next season and reserves and that. I'm sure we want Danny there leading that because he's a very, very knowledgeable man. Adam Sidlow as well. I think he'd make a perfect step into coaching. Spoke to him last week after the game, and he don't want to finish either. He wants to carry on. So, I mean, I'm not sure how old Adam is. I think he's 36, 37 now, and he still thinks he's got it in his legs. So, good luck to him because you're a long time retired. I think he said that, and I think it's great to see players going into coaching. And sometimes great players don't make great coaches. Sometimes you look at the coaches and the people who've not had like big mad careers and won loads and loads of trophies. It's horses for courses, isn't it? Sometimes, and people, good man managers and things like that. And look at Luke Roberts at the moment, Huddersfield, really good player, and he's making a good job of it there. So, no, really pleased. I like to see people stay in the game because there's far too many people, far too many good people lost to the sport of rugby league, and you drift away from it and you never hear from them again. So, no, I'm glad to see Adam staying in the game.
Yeah. So, congratulations to both. Other news: Logan Lewis, Paul signs 1-year contract extension. One of your favourites, tied down for another year.
Joe Miller's my favourite.
Like, you keep asking him when he's going to retire, so I don't know how long that's going to be.
No, well, Logan's been a good favourite of mine this season. I know his dad listens to the podcast, and he's on Facebook as well, and he's told me how impressed he is with the podcast and how it keeps his family and Logan's family in touch over in Australia. So I think that's it. That hats off to us really for that. But no, I think he's progressed really well. I think he's a great character. He's a terrific character, a terrific young lad, and he's somebody. The world's his oyster now. He can really, really progress and get better and better. I think he can get bigger, get stronger, and I think he can be a better player. But what he's got, you can't coach. He's got that bravery. He'll run through a brick wall for you, and you can't coach that. You can't coach that. He's got the aggression as well. He's got all the attributes and all the skills that you need, all the raw materials, if you like. So he just needs the rest of it bringing out of him. And I think he's got really, really good potential to be a top forward for Salford. So I'm glad he's staying. I thought he was staying anyway, but then he said he'd signed this contract. So I think he's been a terrific signing for us.
Yeah, Opportunity Club gives opportunity parking, and he is another poster boy for that. Like Paul said, mad as cheese, puts his body on the line every week, runs through brick walls for our club, and he deserves it. Obviously, he's probably come over on a contract or like a trial. Let's see how you do. And he's played out of his skin, and the club have done the right thing by rewarding him with another 12-month contract. And after that, we'll see where we are. And yeah, I've got to say, fantastic player, so far, and not a bad game or two.
Listen, the one word that jumps out with him is enthusiasm. He's just got bundles. And from that first drive, I watched him have away at Warrington. When he caught the ball on the dead ball and just charged in it like three of the biggest men, Paul Vaughan and people like that, men who've been playing the game for years. This is a kid that's just landed. And straight away I went, I like him. He'll do. Head down. He'll get hurt a lot because he does run with his head down, and we need to have a look at that because I don't want to get head injuries. But he's been, do you know what? He's a joy to watch. You can see how he enjoys it. He loves it. He loves the game, and he loves the atmosphere, and he loves everything about it at the moment. And he, like Paul's just pointed out, he can play. He can play. When we signed him, we were all sitting there going, we don't know anything about him. Why have we flying this guy 12,000 miles to come here? Well, somebody's seen something. Somebody knew something because he's got all, like Paul said, he's got all the materials to be a really, really top forward. I'm not sure of his position, though. I know he's played prop a few times. I don't think he's a prop. I think he's got a little bit more about him than that. I think he's a loose forward, personally. Yeah, I think he could make a good loose forward. Obviously, he's still got a lot to learn. He's a kid at the end of the day, but he is, honestly, when you see him at the end of the game and how he is with the fans, it's like he's just grown up as one of us. He's not. This is a new environment. Everything's foreign to him, and yet I don't know. He just seemed to have settled like that straight away and went, "This is for me." But that smile on his face when you see him, even when he gets a big hit on him, he gets up and he looks. And then I heard him on BBC Manchester last week doing that interview. Wow, I did not expect him to sound like that. Honestly, it looks like he's had 20 years media training. He was brilliant. He was just so. He's one of them guys you think I could listen to him all night. The way he was going on about how he settled in and what he loves about the club, what he loves about rugby, and brilliant. He sounds like an old time pro, even though he's a kid. So I'm delighted he's staying. I really am. And I hope Paul Rowley gets his hands on him now and molds him into this player that I think's in there. I really do. He's like I say, he's got the enthusiasm. He's got a bit of skill about him. He hits hard. I think he's got everything to be a really, really good. I think a good back rower.
Yeah, and it's probably all them live streams he's doing, playing his game. But that's why he's good at talking. Yeah. If you're on Twitter, you can follow him at Hitman Logue, spell Loges. Plays Fortnite, plays all kinds of games. And he's a good crack on there as well. Good to listen to, good to watch. Paul, but going back to the loose forward, front row, second row, where do you think Logan Lewis will finish?
I agree. I think there's more to him than a prop. I think a back rower. I mean, I don't want loose forward. Yeah, possibly. I think with loose forward, he's probably the most important position in a rugby league team. Loose forward for me, but I think so. I think he's got the stuff he needs to work on. Obviously, like I said before, you can't coach what he's got, the bravery and the sort of fearlessness. He reminds me a bit of Dan Sargent. He was like that, where you just cringe because he'd just run at a brick wall, and he will. But not all players are like that. Some players will think, "Oh, I better not go in there. I might get a bit of a bang there." I'm not saying rugby league players are soft, but he's a lunatic, Logan Lewis, and that's what you want, though. And but I think with a bit more maturity, as he sort of learns things in the game and sort of be able to play the ball and offload the ball, gets an offload game and things like that, and get him running out wide in the channel. So he's got a bit of pace as well. Yeah. So I think we can really mould something with him. I think he's got, like I said before, the raw materials are there with him. The attitudes there. You can see he's had a really good upbringing in Australia. He's got a good family behind him. He's got good morals. He's got values. We spoke to him a few times, haven't we, Robin? He's a lovely lad. He's very, very down to earth. There's no edge to him at all. He's a lovely guy, and he's I think he's one of them that'll soak things up. He'll be like a sponge on that training pitch. Paul Rowley gets his arm on him, Kurt Agarty and the rest of the coaching staff. He'll soak it up. He's that sort of level-headed guy. So, like I said before, world's his oyster, and I think we're watching blossom. He's got a 12-month contract now, but let's hope he's staying longer and he becomes a real. We had some great players from Australia, haven't we, and overseas over the years in our time watching. So, in the last few years, we've had some poor ones. We had players come over, and we had one this season, didn't we, who didn't really fit in. He's probably on an awful lot of money as well. Logan Lewis has took his opportunity, and you've got to stand by him and say, well done, mate. You've had a great season, and let's go again next year.
I'm thinking second row. I think obviously time to develop, but my personal opinion, I like my loose forward to have a pair of hands. But there is time for him to develop into that particular role. But if you were going to move him now, you'd put him in the second row for me, Parker.
Yeah, the problem we've got is we've got 3 second rowers in Wright, Watkins, and Stone. So it's not a problem area for us. So we need. So I mean, whether you move one of them, I don't know. Could you move Watkins to loose forward? He's clearly got a pair of hands because he was an international centre.
Yeah.
Could you do that? I mean, I think the idea is that Joe Shorrocks goes there. I think that's the idea, but I'm not 100% on that. But like I say, I think the thing is with Logan is that he is young and he is going to learn the game. At the moment, he's trying to find his way. He's come from grade football in Australia to the Super League. You know what I mean? It's a big step that he's taken, and I think he's just trying to grasp everything at the moment and do his bit. But I think with training and time, I think he has got something, because he clearly knows rugby league. He clearly understands, the game, and he reads a game. So I don't want him to turn him into some, just a running prop forward. There's more to him than that. Whether it is a back rower, whether it's a second rower or a loose forward, wherever he goes. But yeah, I think I certainly could go in the second row in time, because obviously Carl's not going to be around forever. So, that might be the step for him.
I think Paul, Shane Wright to loose forward, interchange loose forward with say Parton, not Mellor. Partington, not Partington. Who is it?
Atkin.
No, who's a loose forward? Shorrocks, yeah.
The one whose name you get wrong.
Him every week. Think about getting names wrong. I get Logan Lewis's wrong every week as well. But,
that was Magic Weekend. What did you call him? Shorrocks at Magic? You called him Joe Melody.
Well, why? Because you said to me, Joe's coming. So it's like Family Fortunes. Name your first joke that comes in your mind. So
he's not for us for that, is it?
No. So that's what I think. I think Shane Wright to loose forward. Interchange loose forward, and then you fit them all in them.
Well, yeah, with Shane Wright, it's another one. I mean, I like Shane Wright as a back rower. I think his best games have been at back row. I don't like playing him at prop. I think he's wasted. He's got pace. He's a good ball handler, and he's a good channel runner. I mean, look at Hull. He scored 2 tries at Hull, and he looked at. I mean, I know your opposition wasn't as strong, but I think he's wasted at prop. I really do, but I think he's probably played there because we've been short of prop forwards, haven't we? So we'll have to watch this space on who we sign, as well as who's going to come in. I think we are lighting the pack. We need some forwards. I mean, this Liam Byrne rumour keeps appearing, doesn't it? And I'd like him because he's a really tough lad. He's a big bloke as well. And is it Ryan Sutton, the other lad? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but is Ryan Sutton the guy that slagged us off when he played for Wigan?
Yeah.
Or was that somebody else?
I think
did he
it
ever
was,
go at Salford? So, but I think he's another one. He's not that old, is he? He's a big lad. So let's hope we can get. We definitely need some forwards. We need some reinforcements in the pack, definitely.
Yeah. Final bit of news. Good news. Paul Rowley and Mark Sneyd have both been nominated for the big awards at the end of the season. Paul Rowley has been nominated for Coach of the Year. Mark Sneyd has been nominated as a possible Man of Steel. Parker, congratulations to both on their nominations.
Yeah. 2
great seasons.
Yeah, I know. Sneyd, he got the Harry
Goldthorpe.
Yeah, I'm going to say Goldstein. Then that was a bit weird, wasn't it? Got that award already, so that's great. And just to be nominated, he's what, the 3rd Salford player in 5 years to be nominated for that award as basically the best player in the league. he's up against tough opposition there. We know that, but he's richly deserved. Definitely one of the top three this year, without a doubt. And as for Rolls, well, as I said to him the other week, he's a miracle worker. How he does what he does, week in, week out to produce the team he's got. When on paper you're looking at it, it's paper thin. Everybody at the start of the year goes, "Oh, Salford have got no chance." You get Sky commentators every week saying, "Oh, they're just a load of misfits. They're this, they're that, and the other." He's got a group of misfits that are on very little money who've managed to finish fourth in the league this season. He keeps doing it. He's an absolute magician, the man. I don't know. People might say, "Oh, well, he's not won anything. He's not done anything." Can you imagine him with the resources of a Matty Pete or a Willie Peters? If he could spend full salary cap and a couple of marquee players, what a team Paul Rowley could assemble, and how well they would play. He gets everything out of every single player, and that is I've said it on air before, and I say it about all things. It's easy being a. I'm not saying it's easy, but like being in football, Pep Guardiola. We've been at Barcelona, Man City, and Bayern Munich, right? Try it at a small club with no budget and see what you do. See how good. Let's see how good these managers would be doing Paul Rowley's job and vice versa. Yeah, the best thing about what I consider as a best coach or a best manager is someone who can make a player better.
Yeah.
How many times has Paul Rowley made players better? Even older players, players who've gone, "Oh, don't mind, we've got him. Why have we signed him?" Boom. Next minute you're going, "Wow, this guy's incredible." I mean, look at the work that he did. I mean, you all know what I think of Callum Watkins and what a wonderful player he is. He was an international centre. He'd got out the gate. He'd had a few injuries. He wasn't. Paul Rowley moved him. We moved him into the back row, and Paul Rowley's improved his game. How can you do that to a player who's already won, I don't know how many grand finals, who's done, all this? He's done it with virtually every player we've had. There's some players who haven't worked, but I don't, I think some players maybe have the wrong attitude at times. But I think he's a genius. I really do. And rightly so, he's in the running for manager of the year. I doubt he'll get it because it usually goes to whoever wins the pots. And this year, he's obviously Matty Pete, unless Hull KR make the grand final and went and won that. Willie Peters could easily win it. And he's done a great job, don't get me wrong, because I don't think Hull KR have got superstars as such. Mikey Lewis is a brilliant player. Absolute. Without Mikey Lewis, I'm not sure Hull KR are second in the league. But Willie Peters has done really well, signing players from elsewhere. And another man that's made players better. And that's what I like. I think that's what constitutes a great manager. But it's just great for these two to be in there, be in the running. I'm representing our club. And, fingers crossed they might come out with something.
Yeah, Paul Rowley. Paul is running at a 51% win ratio, the highest coach that has played coached, let's say, more than 60 games, which shows, where we are and where he is. I think the next target is for him to get to 100 games in charge. And if he is still top of the tree, then possibly the greatest coach Salford's ever had.
It's a big statement, Rob. You have to win something first. But no, I know what you mean. I think with Paul Rowley, like Park said, he is a genius because he's got the ability to not only make players better and play better, but he's got something that not a lot of coaches have. And he's got the ability to make players think they're better than what they are. And I think I always talking about Cloughy in football. I mean, you look what he did. Derby County, not so much Derby, and then they get rid of him. He went to Leeds and all that. There's work he did at Forest, 2 European Cups with that club, and players that weren't that good. But he made those players believe that they were world beaters, and the relationship he had with those players was they'd run through a brick wall for him and perform to a level that nobody thought they could. And I think that's what Paul Rowley does with Salford. You speak to Paul Rowley, and he doesn't give a toss about Wigan, St Helens, all the sort of history and tradition. He respects it, but he wants to go and beat it. And a lot of coaches, when they go to grounds like that, I don't know if we can win here. It's difficult here. These win everything. And you've not got to have that fear. Paul Rowley doesn't have that fear. And I think I said it to you before, Rob. I think he's got a bit of small man syndrome, and I mean that in a respectful way, because he wants to prove people wrong, doesn't he? And he likes being the underdog. And I couldn't have seen him moving to Leeds because I don't think he would have had that sort of. There's a different mentality there. I think the mentality at Salford and the fit he has in Salford is the perfect. It's like a match made in heaven, in being at Salford. I mean, if you go back 20 years when he played for Leigh, I couldn't stand him when he played for Leigh against us. He got sent off at Salford. I thought he was a right thug. I didn't like him at all. But, it's funny how people's careers change, they finish, and then he's one of us now, isn't he? And no, but I think he has a great attitude to the game. He's very knowledgeable towards the game, and he's grown up with the game. I think he told me on one of the interviews once he'd been playing the game since he was like 5-year-old. He was a Wigan supporter, I think, when he was a kid, and I don't know how old he is now, but it's a long, long time, isn't it? And you soak things up, you all the experiences that you get of playing and coaching, and he's passing all that on now as well. And he's got a good man with him as well. He's got his own Peter Taylor on it and Kurt Haggerty. They work so well together.
Yeah. Before we finish, I want to play a little game. Paul Rowley has coached 88 games for Salford so far. There's 4 other coaches that are in and around the 100 mark. Can you name them? And we'll probably play a little game of higher or lower as well.
So, I mean, are we going back through history? Because surely Lance Todd did more than that.
Well, I'm going off the Rugby League Project coaches list.
Recent history.
Hmm.
Well, Watto's one, isn't it?
What? So, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Watto, was he higher or lower than 8?
I think. I'm trying to think now because he was here to 2015 or something. He came.
Mm-hmm.
He did 4 years, so it's about the same, isn't it? I'd say lower.
Lower. Paul, what would you say? Higher or lower?
What, he's coached more matches than
Paul
Rowley?
Yeah,
he's coached more Watson, yeah.
Okay, so you're going higher, and you'd be right, because Ian Watson coached 165.
Yeah, he did a lot more.
Yeah, he's got a lower win ratio, but I think he's on 49%.
165.
Another next one. Do you want me to name him, or do you want to guess the next one?
No, I'd say Carl Harrison, maybe.
Carl Harrison is on that list, Parker. Is he higher or lower than 165 games? What's on that, Paul, while Parker's exhaling?
I think lower because he come halfway through 2002 and we sacked Steve McCormick, didn't he? So he did half of 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, and he got halfway through 07, didn't he? So I think he's pretty similar to Watto, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm going to go just lower.
Parker, thoughts, higher or lower?
He had a lot of cup games though, didn't he? All them trains cup games and all that.
Yeah, I think I would just go higher because in that, like say, that 2003 season when we won everything, we played in every game virtually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm only going off what the Rugby League Project says before I get atted on X. Say done more than that. So you're going higher or lower, Paul? Confirm.
Well, me, I'd go higher.
Okay, so according to them, 99 games.
What, Carl Harrison?
No, I can't be right.
Might be just Super League games, maybe.
Yeah, it can't be. He'd done more than that. The Northern Rail, he would have had about 10, 12 games or something. Yeah. So yeah.
So it might be Super League games.
Yeah,
possibly.
Might be. All right. Okay.
Okay then. Next one. So he's on 99. So you've got 2, and they are.
I'd say Kevin Ashcroft.
Kevin Ashcroft. That's one of them. Is he higher or lower than 99?
He was here for a long time. He had 2 stints as well.
And we'll say first division / Super League. That's probably what the stats say.
I'd say, you know what? I'd say more because they played more games back then in the league.
Yeah.
They played sort of 30 odd games every season, didn't they? Sometimes more. So I would say more with Asher.
So 198, Kevin Ashcroft.
Right.
And you've got one more.
Right. So it wasn't Tamati, it wasn't Jack. Can't have been. Greg. What about Greg?
Greg. You did say it, Tamati.
Was it?
Yeah. So
I didn't know he'd done that many.
Was it higher or lower than 198?
Well, I'd say, yeah. Well, hang on. Just hang on. Because he come 89, 90, game 90.
Yeah.
Right. But in 1991, I think we played about 40 games that year as well in one season. But then how long did he last? Was it 3 years after that? Was it about 93 when he went? 93?
Jack then, I think he was in.
Jack came in. So, yeah, I'd say, that's a tough one. I'm going to say less, just less.
Both went less, and that's right, 101 games.
Well, how many games did Andy Gregory coach for? Because Andy Gregory was coach for a good while, wasn't he?
Yeah. Ask this on the fly.
And he got us to a couple of Challenge Cup semis. Obviously, he's not going to mention them if it's on in the league.
Mind you, two seasons of Greg were in the first division, weren't they? So I bet that's why it's because he did 90. Well, he was 94. He was player coach for a bit. One of them he did 17 for a season.
95, then 96.
Division, and 97 Super League, 98 Super League.
99, I think he was still there, wasn't he? Did he get sacked in 99?
Yeah, because that John Harvey come then, didn't
he? Yeah.
After him.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I bet Greg did a good stint.
So let me pause that for a Okay, so Andy Gregory, his win ratio was 41% and played 61, won 25, lost 35, drew 1.
I've got my scorebook here. I could have counted the matches for you in there.
It'd be in that new book, but I've not looked, to be honest.
Well, that's homework for you, that Parky, for the next podcast.
Have a look, yeah. So, I would have thought Greg had more than that.
I'm only going off what's on there. Might be wrong. Don't at me. You know, I can only go what's in front of me.
A good game, that, as Bruce Forsyth would say.
Yeah, good game. There will be more games like that when we go and do our Player of the Year podcast in a couple of weeks.
I like games.
Something to get excited about there. So
yeah, it's going to get us through the winter, isn't it?
It is. So that's the end of this podcast. Another great show. Paul, obviously, out of the playoffs, but we're hoping to continue to bring great content for our listeners through the dark days of winter.
Yeah, out of the playoffs, but we'll do it all again in 2025, won't we? So we've got plenty to keep us going, haven't we? Now between then, it's been a long season, hasn't it? So we could do with a bit of a breather now, couldn't we? But I'm sure you'll keep us going with bits and bobs, won't you? You're a slave driver, you at times.
Make me sweat when I'm waiting for the match reports to drop. I've got these things have to be organised, Paul. I can't just drop them in randomly. You know what I mean? Anyway, I want to say a big thanks to all our listeners and all the Colby Reds, Parky, who help us fund the podcast, help us, buy the programs to help produce the podcast for their podcast experience.
Yeah, thanks for all that, and thanks for listening. It's been a great year, really. I mean, tonight for me has been therapy. I'll be honest; it's helped me get stuff off my chest and clear it. It's been building up this week. I was under pressure last week, feeling stressed with it all, and then this week's been a bit depressing. But yeah, just getting it off my chest, getting to talk, and people listening. He's brilliant, isn't it? So hopefully we can keep going through the winter. The news will keep coming in. We know that we're going to have new signings. There'll be players probably leaving. We've got developments with the stadium coming up. It's going to be, this is probably the most exciting time to be a Salford fan. I can't, and I just want to. I know it's not like the end of all the podcasts or anything like that, but it's the end of the season, and I just want to thank everyone for listening. But mostly, I want to thank the players and the coaching staff for giving us just such entertainment again this year. And there's been ups and downs all year, which you'd expect. But from this group of players, from where I thought we were back in December, where we didn't even have a ground to play in, we didn't know what was going to happen with the club, to where we finished, it's some achievement, and everybody involved needs a big pat on the back. And I'm sure all our listeners agree with that. And can't wait for next season now. Yeah, nice way to finish this podcast. Big thanks for joining us on The Devil in the Detail. I'm Rob Parkinson. You can find us on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. You can find us on X at DITDSRD. And you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. We'll see you again soon, Reds.